My name is Carrie. I am autistic. I work in audio production.
My name is Brent Belinsky. I am a publisher / contract copywriter, and I have ADHD, and I believe I probably have dyslexia, though that's not been diagnosed. I just haven't gotten around to that. But I misread words a lot, and it takes a lot of mental effort.
My name's Dilosh. I'm dyspraxic. I work in audio production.
I'm Sian, and I most likely have ADHD, and I've been diagnosed with a specific learning disorder.
I'm currently looking for work right now, but it's been proving very hard to find another job because applying for jobs requires a lot of mental energy. What I find most difficult is probably writing a cover letter. My brain can't really communicate itself very well through writing, especially through a formal / academic way. I think what really frustrates me the most about the process is that I know I'm a much better communicator verbally, but they require you to do it in writing first before you even get to the interview stage, which is really disheartening. Some of their website interfaces just really don't sit well with me. Like, for example, you have to say the job title, the place you worked at, and then the dates you worked in, and then the responsibilities. Whereas if I just sent you my CV, you would get all of that information. So it does nothing except take away more mental energy that I could have used elsewhere.
I get very nervous in interviews. The way that my brain works is I listen and I read, especially like each individual word by itself rather than kind of gleaning, which most people do. And so I struggle to really answer questions looking at the wider picture. I remember in my last interview, actually, I was asked conflict management. Can you give me an example of and I got just so focused on them expanding on what exactly they meant by conflict, in this situation. They said that was partly the reason I didn't get that job, actually thinking about it. I feel like with interviewing, I've always struggled to express myself fully. And I think that can be really hard in a high pressurized interviewing situation. Language is perhaps privileged because if you're in an interview space and you have 5 minutes to demonstrate that you're good at a job or a project that you're going to spend months thinking about, having it condensed and then having to use language. A few years ago, I just didn't have the kind of vocabulary and the range to be able to express myself. And then my memory just wasn't good enough for recalling these things, especially when I get quite anxious. It maybe would be nice to prepare something in advance. When I think about organisational culture, despite there being this focus on diversity, there is some discrepancy when it comes to details of what difference means, not just who we are or how we identify and that being a marker of difference, but also how people behave or think slightly differently.
Conform and contour is the name of this war. Watch their faces distort with these genuine thought. They revise what they're feeling and cease the appeasing. As craven as sad when I feel so strong back.
Also, an environment that encourages people to question as well is important, and sometimes that's not always there. In terms of an organisation and the culture, I feel like sometimes people work in an environment where it's very kind of ad hoc and free and that they can work quickly. But sometimes for me to really engage with something, I really have to understand each different component and where it fits in the kind of broader context of maybe a story I'm telling or a show I'm making. So yeah, just kind of clear kind of ideas and clear structure. and just kind of knowing all the different steps. I do fear when I bring that up that someone will just say, or, you're making excuses, which I've had when I was a teacher. I had an incident where they completely changed the layout of a classroom and give me a whole new classes to teach. And I just told them it was, I have to really kind of spend time kind of in this new environment, and also kind of learning the names of this new class. It's going to take me a bit longer. And I said, because I'm dyspraxic. And they said, you're making excuses. I suppose that has made me slightly hesitant to tell them about my neurodiverse status.
I definitely struggled to communicate in many, many ways, but mainly because of my lack of ability to quickly get the words I'm trying to find. And that just creates a lot of issues, a lot of anxiety in the workspace, not only like talking to people in positions of power that you need to be answering to, but definitely in social spaces, which is so important.
In terms of communication, sometimes I feel like I say the wrong thing, and I think some people may see that as me being rude, and sometimes it's hard to say that actually it's not me being like that. It's just, sometimes I can kind of miss how you're meant to kind of respond or be in a certain situation, especially in a workplace which has its sort of rules and regulations. And if I'm honest, it kind of took me a while to kind of understand the code and kind of how to act.
I've been misunderstood so much in work environments, all environments. It's still difficult, and so I don't want to kind of solely blame it on neurological differences, but I definitely have recognised I have often been just generally painted as lacking, I think, in certain areas, because I just won't understand something, or I won't remember a task.
I sometimes worry in terms of misunderstanding at work, just because it takes me sometimes a bit longer to kind of get something, or I might make errors which might seem fairly obvious to someone who's neurotypical. It's sort of around attention to detail, and I feel like sometimes that can give the impression that I'm maybe lazy, or I'm not giving my all. I fear that the person who employs me or my boss thinks that I'm just not trying hard enough or just being lazy.
I work alone, and I generally work alone, and I'm happy with that. I get easily distracted, including by people I like being around and to have things to say that I want to listen to. I don't work alone because I dislike the company of people. I think they're dandy, and for mental health reasons like to check in at a co-working space and be around folks once a week on average.
Meetings I definitely struggle with because of the condensed environment to which you're meant to talk about stuff. When you're in an environment where you have to meet an agenda within a certain space and around certain people who may be a little bit different, I like to be able to kind of really, really think what I'm going to say and maybe just write it down and have my thoughts and ideas being able to be expressed that way, in a way that I've had the ability to give myself time to put it down into words without having to kind of suddenly I'm there and then speak it all out.
I kind of need to know what everyone's kind of their role is, and I like to be able to bounce off someone else. Sometimes I kind of get stuck in my own head and I start worrying if my ideas are any good, and all I need is just someone that I can, maybe pick up a phone to or talk to, who will be able to sort of acknowledge that and see that it's me just trying to understand or process something.
I haven't found any social structures in place that make me feel more accepted and kind of accommodate for the issues that I face in those environments. But individually, I just go home and I have to revise stuff, and it feels really lame. But now I'm just I have to do stuff that makes me feel comfortable in the workplace when I get there and not kind of anxious.
ADHD has always taken more work to get work done. And so I had to devise workarounds for all my writing work. Whenever I want to write something that's longer than perhaps 300, 400 words, and, there's the potential, given the length, for me to wander all over the shop, I'll write down like a kind of an architecture, a beginning, middle, end points I want to cover in between, and I'll write out a little list of what I want to do. Otherwise, the thing will not really answer the question I'd set out to answer when I started writing.
Now I'm working in a theatre. People come up to me and they ask me where things are, and I never remember. So I've taken a screenshot of the layout of the whole theatre, and I've just had this attitude of I'm not going to apologise if it takes me 4 more minutes to get my screenshot and find the number and point you in the right direction. I think with age, I've been more kind of self-compassionate and just accepting of myself. If I don't remember where something is, that's not my fault, and a problem that's not really a problem.
My dream work would be being a presenter, interviewing people. I like getting to know other people's perspectives on all manners of things, really. I just find that really fascinating, and to do that as a job would be absolutely wonderful.
Oh, that's a hard one. I think something creative, something ideas-based, and something flexible. I like working with ideas, and I like transforming those ideas into something creative.
So dream job was to be a magazine features writer. If it was still a thing that was viable, I'd love to be doing that.
The project that I'm currently doing, most people wouldn't really consider it work because it's not getting paid, but it's a creative project / job. I would call that a success because I can really see it translating into something that I can get paid for in society, but it's the very way that I'm doing it will mean that I can do something in the future that I think I really, really enjoy in a way that I want to.